Hey everyone, Graham here from therecordingrevolution.com, and this is the evolution of a song.
1, 2, 3.
So earlier this year, I wrote, recorded, and mixed an entire EP here in my home studio, and I captured everything on camera for you all. And what I want to do is show you a little bit behind the scenes of my process for writing, for recording in a small space with affordable gear and normal techniques and mixing. And what I want you to hear is an idea of a song go from that initial raw state all the way to what you're going to hear on this track and what's available right now on the EP. So we all kind of do this process and everyone's different, but I thought it'd be cool to show you my process and maybe it would inspire you, encourage you, motivate you, and show you that I'm not doing anything special, just doing what you guys are doing and trying to create something out of nothing, to develop an amazing song out of an idea in my head. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the evolution of a song. My name's Graham Cochran, and I am a songwriter and a producer, and I started a website a long time ago called therecordingrevolution.com where I teach people how to record and make music out of their home studios. So I'm writing an EP right now. Hopefully it'll be 6 songs, maybe 5. We'll see if I run out of energy or time, whichever comes first. But I thought I would track the evolution of one of those songs. And so today I'm writing a song. It's called Sticks and Stones. As a guitar player, I write on the acoustic guitar. So I literally will sit down with my acoustic. Even if the song won't even feature an acoustic guitar ever in the final production, I always start on acoustic guitar. Partly out of habit, because it's easier to just grab my acoustic than to plug in my amp, and I've been doing it for years. But also because I think maybe Dave Grohl said this one time of Foo Fighters, and I definitely agree that if a song can sound good on acoustic guitar by itself, it'll sound good full band, full production. And that's not always the case for the reverse. It's not always the case that I could start it on an electric guitar or something and it translate to a solo acoustic version. Not that that's the point, or that I ever would need to do a solo acoustic version, but it is a habit that I have started with. So if I were a piano player, I'd probably start on an acoustic piano, but I can't play piano. So I sit literally at my computer. I don't write on paper anymore for lyrics. I sit at my computer with a spreadsheet or a doc open where I can just write lyrics. I have a running tally of all my songs for lyrics, and I put a date and I grab my guitar and I start writing. So I think with this song, I started playing some Soundgarden-esque riff rock bluesy thing. It sounded cool, and then I wrote a chorus to it, and it didn't fit the chorus. But I liked the chorus better, and so I scrapped the cool riff thing and instead morphed it into a riff rock thing that fits the chorus. So even what I'm starting to write today has already evolved from the first 10 minutes of writing it. So I'll sit with my guitar and work on music first. A lot of people ask, do you work on lyrics first or music first? And I am more of a music guy than a lyrics guy. I feel like the music is the point. It's the intangible. It's what moves people. Music is very mysterious to me, and it's an incredible gift from God. And so I feel like that has to be first. I have to be in love with the melody, with the chord, with the vibe. Is it a melancholy vibe or is it a happy vibe? Is it very rhythmic? Is it very drawn out and legato? I need to just be married to the music and be excited about wanting to play and sing to this piece of music. And then is only then do I try to attach lyrics to it. And the lyrics have to be important. They have to say something. Otherwise, what's the point of having words? You might as well just have an instrumental. So I feel like if you're going to have words, they have to be important, and you have to sing about things that are relevant to you, that you're passionate about, that are authentic and real. And how you write lyrics is completely up to you, but I always start with music first. So I'll have the guitar, I'll work on riffs or chords, and I'm such a vocal guy that if you're sitting in my room with me when I'm writing, this is what you're going to hear. You're going to hear me on the guitar, and then I'm going to be singing gibberish or made up words. So I try to take the music, and then I try to lock in a vocal melody. Because I love vocal melodies, and I don't want just any old melody. I want it to be the perfect melody for that song, and I want it to be memorable, and I want it to be a definitive written piece. I don't like, personally, where there's a lot of lyrics and it seems like they fit lyrics into a song, and so the melody is real kind of free-flowing and vague because they got to get the lyrics in. I don't like that. I feel like the music has to determine things first. So the melody has to be in place, and then we'll attach lyrics to that, but the melody is key. So I'll sing made up words or I'll mumble, but I'm mostly trying to, as I'm working on the chords and the structure of the song and things like that, I'm trying to nail down what's the main vocal hook, what's the melody, what am I going to be singing throughout the song music-wise, and so yeah, I'll sing nonsense for a while.
I am a shell of a man who once lived, humbled and beat down, ruined and rebuilt.
Sometimes I don't know what I'm gonna write musically. Like sometimes I'll sit down and I have no idea if it's gonna be a ballad or if I want to sing something or write something upbeat or if it's bluesy or if it's folky. I don't really know sometimes. I sometimes just sit and see what comes out. If nothing's coming out, then I kind of have to go listen to some music and get in a vibe, get excited about something. But sometimes if I've been listening to a certain kind of music and my head space is just in a certain style or feel, I'll write out of that. And I think that's really cool. I think that's the whole point of influence is we're always influenced. Nothing we do is original in the pure sense of the word, because we only know what good music is because we've heard good music. And so we internalize and we fill ourselves up with great music that we love, and then what spills out is our unique imprint on great music, because all of us are unique. But you can't really claim to be original, so I don't really try to create something out of the box that's never been heard before. I just try to create music the way I like to hear it, and it's always going to come out sounding like Graham, because the way I sing or the way my hands go on the guitar or my limitations on what chords I know or how fast or slow I can play, all those things will impact what comes out. So it doesn't matter if I listen to a bunch of stuff and then go write. It's never going to sound exactly like it, but it will be a combination of everything I've ever listened to, because that's the whole point of being a musician.
In knowing you are weak, sticks and stones are tearing me in two till you start breaking me down.
Today is recording day 1. So we're gonna start with drums. We're in my little humble abode, and we've gone from, it's very, very humble, and it's literally where I live. We've gone from acoustic guitar, demo, getting a scratch guitar track and vocal into Pro Tools, and now I've got my buddy Logan. We're gonna actually track some drums today. So this is actually where the recording starts. So I figured I could show you a little bit about what we're doing, how we've mic'd it up, and you can kind of hear some of the sounds we're getting in this little space. So let's take a look. I'm going to show you a little bit of our setup that we have in a room. So keep in mind, I'm in a small room. This is like a typical room in a house. So this was a upstairs loft that we closed in with a wall behind me over the staircase. So it's like a big bedroom. So if you're dealing with home studio stuff, this is exactly what you're probably dealing with. I do have acoustic treatment on the walls, which tames some of the high-end stuff that sounds really nasty, but this isn't a great space to record drums, and I think we're getting a really good sound. We're using 9 mics on the kit today, and so I kind of wanted to show you a little bit of what we're doing so you get an idea of where the mics are and how it's working for us. So come take a look. We'll start with the overheads because that's the most important part of the sound. These are the MXL drum cube microphones. I have never ever used them ever. I bought them off of Amazon. Literally, they came in last night. And so I just opened them up, and they're large diaphragm condenser microphones in the shape of a cube. And they have like a little boost around 10K, which is kind of great for cymbals. So we've got them set up in a Glenn Johns technique. So you've got one overhead that is more traditionally overhead the kit, but it's kind of directly over the snare. So it kind of looks right down at the snare. It's probably 3 feet up, out of Logan's way, but getting a nice balance of the hi-hat, the crash on the left, and the snare. And then this guy is a side microphone. It's actually looking across the floor tom, across the snare, over at the hi-hat. So it's a side microphone that's really the right overhead. So Glenn Johns, famous guy, recorded Led Zeppelin, the Who. He kind of just figured this setting out, and it sounds great. I've used it before, hadn't done it in a while. So that's what we're doing on the overheads. And the key is making them both the same distance from the middle of the snare drum. So wherever you move them, you can move them wherever you want, get the tone you want, get the balance you want, but as long as both mics are the exact same distance from the center of the snare drum, you won't have phase issues. So this is the overheads. On the toms, I've got Rode NT1As. I love these microphones. I've used these for drum overheads. I use these for vocals. Today they're doing tom duty. It's just a large diaphragm condenser. I've got it angled where I like it on the floor tom. I have the exact same mic on the high tom, doing the exact same thing. Using the back of the mic to kind of be like rejecting the cymbal above it as best you can. And stay out of Logan's way on the tom. So again, these are just nice and punchy. I do have 20 dB pads on both these mics because they're really sensitive. Let's go down below on the kick drum. I've got 2 mics on the kick drum today. Inside, I've got a Shure Beta 52 large dynamic microphone, real traditional kick drum microphone. So it's real fat. It's great. It's kind of got like a scoop in it. It's good for kick drum. So it's inside, and it's kind of picking up more of that beater sound and that just that modern punchy sound. It still has some good low end because I'm not way inside. But then outside the kick drum, I've got a Kel 7U microphone, which is kind of a FET 47 clone, but all it really means for you is that it's like a traditional large diaphragm condenser, just kind of picking up some of the air off of the actual kick drum. So this sounds like a lot of low end. It's got a lot of drum bleed in it, but it's got the bottom oomph that mic might not have. And together you can get a real punchy and fat kick drum sound, where we can blend them to taste later and get whatever sounds good for the kit. So this little guy is trying to muffle some of the cymbal bleed. The cymbals are rocking loud in here because it's a small room. So this is just a foam Auralex baffle that you can put on mic stands. And it looks really lame, but it's great because the cymbals are right above it. And so it's going to absorb a lot of that cymbal sound before it gets to the microphone, which will help me out now. So on the snare, I got 2 mics. They're both SM57s from Shure dynamic microphones. So this is your standard snared mic that you see all over the place. Just so you know, like we used a different snare drum at first, and the snare sound wasn't the best, and then we had a second snare drum, and the actual snare sounds way fatter, and that gave us a fatter sound. So sometimes it's not the microphone, sometimes it's the actual drum, and so we got the drum the way we wanted. That's picking up the top. Down at the bottom is a Granelli Labs GS7 or G5790, excuse me. These are some guys up in Maryland that take Shure SM57s and then they mod them. They rip out the innards and they put inside this 90-degree angle bent 57, which is super cool, and then they put it back together. And sonically, it's the exact same components, the exact same microphone. It's just bent, which is sweet. So It works out great for getting into tough angles, and the guys at Granelli Labs were awesome to send me one to play with. So I'm using this as the bottom snare mic, which I hardly ever do, but I wanted to do it because it gives you more crisp. I mean, it's literally on the snares. So by itself, it sounds nasty, but with the top mic, it just sounds complete. It sounds really fat. The tone is up top. The crispness is on the bottom. You do have to flip the polarity, flip the phase of this bottom mic though, because if you don't flip anything, all of a sudden you'll realize that this sounds worse than just the top mic by itself. So either on your mic pre or in your DAW, you flip the polarity on that mic and you're good. So over here I've got what I'm calling the fat mic, okay? And I stole this from Greg Wells, who, I mean, he's done Adele, he's done everybody. He's a mixer, he's a recording engineer, he's a genius. But he does this on his drum kit all the time, where he'll mic up the kit and he'll take an extra mic and he'll put it right over the kick drum. Like, so this is the shell of the kick drum, almost to the edge, kind of in the middle of the kit, looking right down. So it's off access from the snare and the toms, and it's not even picking up any of the heads of any of the drums. It's like looking at the shell. It's under the cymbals. It's just literally this weird mic in the center that either with a little bit of EQ, or depending on the mic you have, this isn't a real round sounding mic. It's not very bright. It's a Kel HM2D, one of my favorite little microphones. This mic is just super cool because it adds a thickness in the low mids, and you can boost the crud out of it with an EQ after the fact if you want. You can compress a lot of it if you want. That if you mix this guy in with everything else that's going on, you get just a fatness and a centered sound that's just not there. You have a lot of punch on the close mics, a lot of crispness up top with the overheads, and these are in stereo. This gives you a weird mono fat mic to play with. So we are doing that because what I'm going for today is just a fat rock sound. It's not real lively, it's just fat, and this mic is really, really, really cool. Totally cool tone. Before Logan, my drummer, comes in to record, I set up a guide track or a scratch track in Pro Tools. So I literally record a guitar and a vocal that's real rough, but it's recorded to the tempo, and that's what my drummer's been listening to for a couple weeks now. Just a boring guitar vocal version of the song, so he gets a feel for the arrangement, how the vocal melody goes, and he can think about drum patterns and rhythms. Because again, I'm recording an album with a guy that I don't get to play these songs with on a normal basis, so it's a little bit different than a band that knows the songs and it's coming in to record. But he listens to them, and he comes in, and when we track drums, it's kind of like, let's see if what I'm hearing in my head as a drummer actually works in real life in the studio. Tuning drums is one of those boring but necessary things that so many great records that you love the drum sound on, you really had no idea that that drum sound isn't a mixing technique or a mic technique, it's a drum tuning technique. It was tuned perfectly, nice heads on the drums, and you get a good player that can beat the crud out of the drum. That's where your sound starts. So I don't know how to tune drums, and I probably should, so I make the drummer tune the drums as best as we can. And then mic technique on a drum kit, there's so many ways to capture the kit. It just takes time, and the smallest angle can make a huge difference. And so, yeah, on this project we spent a good few hours putting up mics, listening back to some test recordings, angling them in different places, thinking about, does this sound like what we hear in our heads, what we think the style of the song dictates. So it's a game of setting up and listening before you ever actually do any real recording. And Logan is a champ. I mean, he's playing the crud out of these drums while listening back to just a acoustic guitar and a out of pitch vocal, just a rough vocal I laid down quickly one day, and a click track. Beep, boop, boop, boop. It's pretty uninspiring, but it gives him enough to know where he is in the song, and he just went to town. So a good drummer can play to something like that, and I feel like drummers, they miss out because they don't get to hear the fullness of the recording when they start if you're overdubbing. So Logan, you're the man. Thanks for laying it down for me.